Welcome to Maneuvering Monday. My name is Ake and I'm one of your hosts. This is a summary video of the first chapter and first episode in chapter 2, so you're ready to listen to the next episode of the book without having to go back. In chapter 1, episode 1, we meet Marie. Marie is the head of development HR in the edtech company Zebra Apps. As an increasing number of employees are resigning each month, the CEO of Zebra Apps, Natalie, tasks Marie with finding out what's going on and with fixing it. Benchmarking the competition, Marie finds that the only differentiating factor that Zebra Apps does not offer is free soda. The leaving employees encourage Marie to speak to Anne, a former employee at Zebra Apps, and Marie's boss Mark, the VP of HR, finds out that Marie has been tasked with fixing the retention problem at Zebra Apps and is upset that Natalie did not give this task to him. In chapter 1, episode 2, we learn that Marie presents the results of her benchmarking to Natalie and Mark takes note of the free soda missing from the package. During the meeting, Marie understands that Mark has been conducting exit interviews with employees but never shared the results with her. As he shares the results, Marie discovers that Anne, who she was recommended to speak to by the resigning employees, had stated that Aslo was the reason she left. Aslo is a remote learning system developed by Anne that the developers wanted to use for children displaced by the conflict in Ukraine. This idea was, however, denied by the leadership team. Leafing through the exit interviews, Marie finds that many of them state that the company has changed in the past year, during which the company has grown on the sales side. In the third episode of chapter 1, Marie learns from Anne's former boss at Zebra Apps that Anne does consulting work now. They finally meet and Anne explains that she left Zebra Apps because she could not keep the engineering department together as a single person. Anne challenges Marie, saying that Marie holds the HR department together, and that this is dysfunctional partly because of how Marie crowds other people's initiative out. She also challenges Marie to start addressing the failures of the system directly and points out that Mark takes credit for the team's work, adding to the dysfunction. Marie puts Anne in her place by disclosing a situation where Anne had unknowingly put a colleague in an unfortunate situation while that colleague was undergoing a gender transformation. Finally, Anne reveals that Zebra Apps could have offered Aslo to the children of Ukraine at no extra cost, but they chose not to. In the final episode of the first chapter, Marie is attending a flower party at her child Allie's kindergarten, but she's late and she is distracted by her meeting with Anne and the challenges at work. At night, she talks to her husband Thomas about how making the technology work is the easy part, and making the team collaborate is much harder. Marie reads a LinkedIn post about games people play in organizations, realizing that Mark is playing the game of obfuscation, which is about keeping everyone on their toes and guessing. During her next day at work, she finds out that Mark has told Natalie that Marie will launch a culture program to fix the retention problem. Although initially angered by this betrayal of trust, Marie remembers the game that Mark is playing, and she simply agrees to do the presentation of the culture program at the following leadership meeting. In the first episode of the second chapter, the VP of sales, named Jacques, is deliberately late for a mandatory monthly coaching session with Marie, and she has to convince him of the relevance of these meetings by explaining that self-reflection and emotional maturity is central to be part of a leadership team that pulls the organization in the same direction. Jacques has been hired recently to build the commercial side of the business, and he's not well liked by the engineering teams. Marie also learns that Anne did not put their colleague in an unfortunate situation, but that the colleague was in fact upset that the leadership team did not support donating the spare capacity of the data center to the displaced children and teachers from Ukraine. Marie discovers that Natalie defined a mission statement and company values when she founded the company. She involves her own team in developing the presentation of the culture program for the leadership meeting. Mark has soda fridges installed in Zebra Apps. That was it. You're now ready to listen to Chapter 2, Episode 2.